Sean, I applaud you for being so transparent about your objectives.
I actually think that people work in the defense of our country, in the defense industry, are playing a vital role for the cause of freedom. So I don't really call it a corrupting influence or suggest that somehow that's a corrupting influence. But here's your problem.
People should
you
watch
go
it.
on these shows, people quote your exact words, and you deny your own words. And I'm saying if you're going to be a presidential candidate and you're going to spend, I'm going to give you your exact words, either own it.
Sean, you have been sitting here for years talking about the fake news media.
But you played this all the time.
I'm enjoying this. You have been laughing about the fake news media how many times for the last several years, and now you're buying the mainstream media narrative when you know how corrupt it is.
I am following you. I am quoting your exact words.
Are a problem.
Did I not quote your exact words?
About Azerbaijan and Armenia.
Did I or did I not quote your exact words? Did I quote your exact words?
And Armenia, absolutely.
Thank you.
About Azerbaijan, yes,
you did. I've got time to go.
About a different topic, Azerbaijan, where people should actually get their own information rather than filtered through centralized media.
I think it's asinine to think somebody that worked in the defense industry should not be qualified to be president. I think people that never held public office, like you, maybe they're not qualified to be president. Anyway.
There's a lot going on here between Sean Hannity and Vivek Ramaswamy that's fueling this latest example of conservative clashes with really no real winner. It's about the ongoing and atrocious Israel-Palestine conflict, our role in exacerbating it, defense lobbyists, and of course, as with many conservatives, a whole bunch of irony. So what was it about Azerbaijan and Armenia that Ramaswamy said that had him getting kicked off of Hannity's show?
Look at what's happening with Azerbaijan and Armenia. You don't really hear much about that now. Why? Because Azerbaijan's lobby is about as effective as Ukraine's is in Washington, D.C. What's happening is an atrocity. I mean, you have a people who are Armenians, largely Christians, six-figure numbers, 120,000, being driven back to their country from a region that has long been a place they have called home. A lot of atrocities that aren't even yet coming to light in Western media. But Azerbaijan has a lobby, a powerful lobby in Washington, D.C. You have a system that is bought and paid for, both for the people who run on the Democratic ticket, people who run on the Republican ticket, and people who make those decisions in Washington, D.C. that are effectively managed by, in this case, the Azerbaijan lobby that has a lid on discussing this conflict, which, as you pointed out, most Americans haven't heard of. But you'll hear endlessly about Russia's incursion on Ukraine. So open that Pandora's box around the world. I mean, look at much of Africa, look elsewhere. You're going to find ability to have selective moral outrage. But you only hear about it in certain selective cases that the media and the existing establishment in both parties deem fit for the American public.
It looks like Vivek is criticizing the lobbying process, which gets us involved or uninvolved in conflicts all over the world. But when the primary discussion is about our involvement in Israeli military strikes on innocent Palestinians, Hannity concluded that his criticism was more about Israel than Azerbaijan.
You kind of, what you're doing here is saying about Nikki Haley is you're saying that her concern for Israel is driven by financial and a corrupting influence, and your explanation that this disproportionate focus on rape, kidnapping, and murder of the Jewish people in this attack, and that and your quote, that there are frankly financial and corrupting influences that lead them exactly to speak the way they do.
Sean, that is a shameful mischaracterization when I'm talking about Azerbaijan
stop right now.
and
I'll
Armenia.
Read the exact you do this in every single interview. You say stuff and then you deny it. You deny your own words. So, why don't you just own what you say and stand by it and stop playing these games?
I am owning what I say, Sean. What's happening in Azerbaijan and Armenia was a separate discussion that I had, and I do believe that it is shameful that Azerbaijan is getting away with what they are because they have a powerful lobby in the U.S. But it is shameful to extrapolate that to the comments in Israel, where, to be honest, I have been crystal clear that what's happened is barbaric. It is medieval. It is wrong. And Israel absolutely said this since day one, say it now, has the right to defend itself to the fullest extent.
That never got cleared up because the emotions were running just too high. But it did open up the door for a few instances of pure irony, starting with who should be disqualified from running for president and why.
But I really want an explanation here. I want an explanation to the. Can I finish? I want an exact explanation for your exact comments that there are frankly financial and corrupting influences that lead them exactly to speak the way that they do. Now, why would you say, what are the financial corrupting influences that Nikki Haley is taking a position on. Answer
you're
the
asking a
question.
separate question, which is the corrupting influence on our politicians. Well, the fact of the matter is, I think anybody who has been a military contractor, anybody who has made $8 million, including on serving on the board of Boeing, collecting stock options while running for U.S. president on corporate boards, has made money from military contracting through a family business, is disqualified from being the U.S. president in a time of war.
You're saying that if somebody works for a defense contractor, that is a financial corrupting position when national security and defense is critical to the cause of freedom and has been throughout human history?
Well, I don't believe that somebody should be able to be the next commander-in-chief if they have monetized their time in government. If you're making money off your time in government, then I don't think you're fit to be president of the United States.
Ramaswamy said, I don't believe someone should be the next commander-in-chief if they've monetized their time in government. And if you're making money off your time in government, I don't think you're fit to be president. Principled stances. Except that despite running against him, Vivek is known to fully support Trump, a former president who openly made tons of money off of his time in office, not to mention his immediate family's profits. And by refusing to sever ties with his companies or the financial interests they could enjoy due to his influential position in the White House, special interests from home and abroad, they caught on and started spending not only on his campaigns, but at his resorts, his clubs, and his hotels, fueling massive corruption. And although Hannity showed how much he doesn't like Ramaswamy by pointing out that he's never held public office.
I think it's asinine to think somebody that worked in the defense industry should not be qualified to be president. I think people that never held public office, like you, they're not qualified to be president.
Part two of the irony is that he forgot his favorite president was in the exact same disqualifying position back in 2015 when he strolled in front of cameras to announce his racially fueled campaign.
When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.